Is it not live anymore? No, that can't be true. Let me just reload this because like this guy that I know on here usually rolls for a couple hours doing music, and his chat is very lively. But some great people in it actually. Not seeing any other minute right now though, unfortunately, that I've already met. Um, I mean, that's positive comment. So, got somebody here pretty quickly within the first few seconds, and welcome. Curious how you came across the video, if you've ever seen this channel before, and if you'd like to say where you're watching from in the world, I'm glad to have you here in the viewer lab. And, you know, it's interesting actually. I should mention that maybe for a moment, because it's interesting what people feel is personal. On the guys, that musician that I was just mentioning, I had asked, I believe, somebody's age and where they were from. You know, at least I believe it was definitely where they were from. And as far as I was concerned, that wasn't this topic to them, but you know, lots of people are from the same place they're from, I'm sure, and that age. You know, and they said that's a little personal. A lot of people are very open and happy to talk, whether you want to call them a free spirit or not. And quite honestly, those are my type of people. I understand some people maybe are a little bit shy at first, but I hope that they realize, you know, as they get more familiar with me, that they don't need to be shy. Um, what sparked this video today? I may come across as not sounding like an expert, but nobody is, even people that are really good at something can still get better, can still improve. So I would say in a lot of cases, you know, I mean, that's not uncommon. What sparked it today is, first of all, I want to say that the people that enjoy when I do music on here, I really appreciate that you enjoy it. You know, I really do. Um, Often, though, it's not even noticed. We got two of you here. Welcome. Don't be shy. It's not, you know, and it's not always just music I do on here. Not one, but anyway. However, I don't do bars really, and I don't drive, and it's just I find it hard to get opportunities to go out and do music. I experienced a disappointment in a gig I was hoping to get that would have been very doable for me. Um, I already, yeah. So I like a lot of stuff. I don't do a lot of it. And sometimes it's because sometimes I've lost interest in things I used to like. And I know they say that's telltale signs of you know what, right? I don't want to say that we can't talk about it, but it's hard to verbalize things sometimes. Maybe it's a little bit easier in type, right? But I often, when I think about things I might like to do more, I was reminded of a couple of them when I was at the dentist listening to somebody there. Um, I think, well, it's a class. It would probably be a class that I can't either easily get to or afford. Um, I'm looking for social things. I'm looking for creative things. Um, and so I'm curious what other people have for hobbies. I mean, I know I can make all kinds of guesses, you know, because we know the kinds of things that even if we don't like certain things, other people like. But I feel like I need to hear it from people right now. I feel like I need to have specifics, you know. Um, and I'm very happy that the person watching has been watching for about 3 out of the 4 minutes. I would say, possibly thinking about what you might want to contribute to the chat. Um, and we have a second person here too now. Welcome. Um, so I talked about hobbies, uh, which could very much align with purpose. I forget what the second thing in the title was, and I know that the third thing was depression. I want to take this opportunity to let you know that if depression is something that you deal with, I mean, I don't want to say that you're not alone because I think most of us realize that other people also deal with it. At the same time, when you um, when you're not around those people and you're not connecting with those people, it can certainly feel like you are. I mean, alone. Um, I mean, I understand, that you don't want to impact somebody else negatively, but I'll say right now, even though I'm still human, I'm a pretty strong person. That you don't have. I used to go to support groups. They're a little harder to get to for me now, and well, the tail end of the previous video, I kind of said why I don't go to that building anymore. But and it's nothing about anything that happened in the groups, but something else that happened there. But and that was sometimes a worry. In some ways, it was very formatted. Maybe that helped. And in other ways, so you know what I'd like to do for the two of you that are here and anyone who sees this afterwards, I would like to, until if you may put comments in, I would like to share a little bit about kind of and I can't say that a group that you might find if you choose to would be the exact same. And this might make me miss it a little bit, but we used to do a few different kind of like I don't know what that does, but apparently it does something for the system to do that kind of thing. Like, it's been a while. And then both of you left. They're like, I'll tell you what it does. It made this weird, you know. But I don't know. We also used to do this thing where because there was always a physical element, and I think it's because it's good to move. It's good to move the body. It wasn't a strongly physical element like get up and dance and run around kind of thing, but we used to put our legs out and hold. And we used to talk about, have we had any good nature stories lately? I will say though, I don't, I'll just say this. Please accept it. If your nature story was hunting, I have very mixed feelings, but it's really not something I want to talk about. I'm just going to put this, or fishing for that matter. It's not a, for the most part, I would say that that's not a personal judgment. And so many people love to do those things. But I have no interest in them. And if you're vegan, it's all that whole kind of topic is not something I really want to get into. But nature stories can mean more than that. Fortunately, some days like today are very windy, potentially might rain, and then winter comes along, and you don't want to do as much. Well, I kept people here for about 4 or 5 minutes. One for sure, I think. Although again, the one that stayed may have been the one that came for the briefer. I don't know. Either way, somebody stayed for a few minutes. Why they left? I'm going to add that to this one too. Again, sometimes it doesn't happen. Often it does. And I'd like to get to the bottom of that. Well, that door is open right now, but it doesn't really feel like it's making its way in here very easily. Because your hair scared me. Just kidding. No, nobody said that. But if I don't get it looking a bit better from under my hat. I'm kind of thankful that if people don't have something nice to say, they just don't say it. But at the same time, I do value honesty. I do think that that's a good approach, but I would like to think that we can always find something nice to say. We can always find something to like and be positive about somebody. But I'm just like anybody else. There are certain people that I wouldn't gel with, which isn't most people, but and or that I would feel uncomfortable about. I don't I don't I don't see how I would fit that though. But it's a big world, so I can't be everybody's cup of tea or coffee or anything else. You know what I mean? Um, so I'm tempted to do a song that I was thinking of doing at the event that I'm not going to be performing at after all, most likely. Rivera laughed. I don't know. I kind of have a little bit of a new hairstyle, but I'm so often used to seeing myself in the hat. But it's quite windy out, so maybe not as much as it was earlier, but well, at least we wouldn't have to pay for two people if we took a cab later and went out and got something. But I know we're going to eat out on Sunday. It's just I don't feel like we have a lot other than the usual, and I need a treat. But I'm slow to figure things out. But I still got a little bit of time before. Well, about 3 hours before the other person gets home. But I mean, there's also the getting there. I just can't justify paying for a cab when I don't have. Once that money's gone, it's gone. I mean, and I don't have a consistent. And I'm not. This is not me necessarily asking for money, but it's not me not either. Not me not. Sir Percival. I would like also for people that come into this to understand that I did just do quite a long podcast. However, anybody who podcasts may or may not realize that sometimes there's chat happening and there's liking and all this good stuff, and sometimes there's not, and there just wasn't with that one. And so, but I'm feeling kind of isolated by myself right now, and to be quite honest, sort of struggling with it. And like I say, I'm tempted to perform a song. It's a little bit deep, but it does express care and empathy and something, quite relatable, I would say. The person that just tuned in will have missed the little introduction to this song. And even though I'm not doing the performance at the event that I was hoping to do, I'm wondering if I should do this song. I am definitely wondering if I should. It's a Linkin Park song. And I do realize too, I just realized recently, because I've heard of the band for ages, but I didn't know that they have some very heavy stuff. Now, I want to also say, I don't hate hard rock. I'm not big about metal. We don't have to get into it. And I watch Walker. I'll be one of the people that tuned in. They've already heard that last night, but I don't mind doing hard rock. Like I say, I don't know if I'm up to singing it, but if you'd like to make a suggestion, I can. But Linkin Park also has some mellow stuff. I mean, I don't know what I would expect more with a song like this, for it to be a bit heavier or not. I think I will perform it. And I'll just say, allow yourself to feel, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever, allow yourself to feel Allow yourself to, it's not my intent to hurt or trigger anybody, and we can talk about it if it does. But yeah, so I'm just gonna close the door there for a moment, and see that I do have a sense of purpose. I do have somebody here that wants to hear me do this, and I'm very thankful for that. And yeah, um, and this song, I kind of yeah. Okay, so here we go. Curious if you know it as well. Now, there is a part in the lyric, I think it's in the chorus, that sounds like it's saying something, but if you hear it out in its entirety, you realize it's actually saying something nicer than it sounds like it kind of is. If that makes any sense. And I think you'll think it will when you hear this. I haven't played this very often, but I'm just going to put another pillow behind my back. I have a sore back. I appreciate your patience. But in person, I would have been able to play 2 or 3 songs, or at least maybe 6, just fine. But anyway, here we go. Sorry, I've got it auto scrolling and it's a little fast. You stayed with sides I ignored. You were the signs. Can I help you not to hurt anymore? Saw brilliance when the world was asleep. There are things that we can have, but can't. They say, here's this one where light goes out in the sky of a million stars. Flicker, flicker. Who cares if someone's time runs out? If the moment is all that we are. Who cares if one more light goes out? I do. Reminders for the floor from your phone. In the kitchen, one more chair than you need. And you're angry, and you should be. It's not fair. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. If they say, here's it, one more light goes out in the sky. Stars, flickers, who cares if someone's time runs out? Moment, all we have. Here's it, one more light goes out. I do. How is this? How is this? How is this going for you? Let's see the comments when I'm ready. And then it just actually repeats that. And that's all there really is to that song, actually. But, and we have a second person that you may have tuned in after the song. I'm not sure. If you have a song request, feel free. Remember to like and subscribe if you'd like to. I'd appreciate it. Again, a reminder that it's been kind of a gray day here, that I wasn't able to go out and do something. I haven't eaten and you both left. Well, that's appreciation. But at least in person, some people would like it, and some might fake it because there's such a thing I've been meaning to research is the clap response. When somebody does a performance or says, one, because other people are doing it, and two, because people feel like that's what you do, they clap. Well, I mean, yes, I have access to this. I feel like, but I do feel like I need more, but I'll clap for myself. I'll clap if the angels are clapping for me. But I want to do more. I want to help more. And some people may say, well, stop whining about it and go do it. But they don't know the challenges that I struggle with. They don't know what I've tried. And, you know, I guess I will say this, not that anybody's here to hear it right now, but I will say this, and maybe this is how I tell the other person in the house about not getting the gig, is that, let me just open the door again. Imagine you get a call sitting there, actually. Is that I know I had alluded to it in the previous podcast, but there is a level of uncertainty, and maybe I'll talk about it a little bit with my ride on that day, which I'm likely to have. Or, you know, it's kind of a unique and awkward topic, but I feel like a particular thing I have upcoming might put me in contact with some people this is not meant to sound like an ego or anything, with some people that we could mutually benefit from each other. You know, it's great when those kind of things happen here on YouTube too, but, you know, so that does make me feel happy and give me hope. I really hope that I get there without too much difficulty. And I don't think I'll get right back on everything. If you can't let me back for whatever reason, that might someone there. Because, you know, I know whether you do or you don't, I know that there are lots of people out there who, and the person left, who are struggling, who feel lonely, who feel like they need someone to talk to. Unfortunately, and that's unfortunate in itself, I also kind of unfortunately feel like I don't come in contact with those people very often. And if you know me and are getting the sense from me accurately in this 22 minutes, you know, not there's anybody watching at the moment, but I'm not saying that because I am thinking anything negative. I want to be there for those people. I relate sometimes, and I want to be there for those people. We aren't meant to go through this world alone. We got to be here for each other. Folks, life is hard, you know. And I know that we all probably have people that we're there for, even if it's not a large number. And we got to know our capacity. Perhaps expand it a little bit. Be aware of other people. Realize that body language might tell you something, but that it doesn't always mean what you think it will. Communication is important. Ask. Ask. Thinking of a body language example, it's not a good one for the topic really, and I'm thinking of another example, which could be, but it was really more another example of I didn't get to help like I wanted to because it was a busy area and it was actually on a bridge or an overpass, which I didn't really walk on very often because a lot of traffic, big, don't like bridges in some ways, and so once this particular individual, this goes back many years, and we got 3 of you here, welcome. Once this particular individual got far enough onto the bridge, I wasn't sure about following. There was some construction workers working. She connected with them. And you want to hear examples of the way that my mother has been sometimes in my life. Well, you're a guy, and, that wouldn't have been appropriate. That's not your responsibility. And all 3 of you left. Anyway, that's not your responsibility to do anything about it. I don't quite agree. And if you didn't catch what I was quite sharing there, that particular person was potentially suicidal. So, it felt bad that she was going through that. It felt bad that I wasn't able to help like I thought I could or felt I needed to. I guess I am glad that somebody else did. Um, but um, yeah, um, it really hurts to know that there are people going through hard times. One, because I relate. I mean, we're all living this human experience. So, I mean, some people struggle more than others, but I think we can all relate, you know, and I want to be there to listen and offer support and hug, perhaps. And I'm just not finding the opportunities that I know are out there. I don't know how to. I don't know how to. But speaking of opportunities, I'm just going to really quickly make a phone call. I have to tell them eventually, so might as well now. Um, I didn't call for it, although that might be, if it is in service, 311 says it's not. I mean, and it's going to probably be leaving soon, but that might be an idea. Um, I misplaced something, but yeah. So um, unfortunately, I've not gotten the gig. Um, I'm not really sure, and I figured you'd find out this eventually. Um, I'm not. It was a little bit confusing as to why, other than that it wasn't just one person making the decision. It seemed like the vote didn't work in the favor. Yeah. Yeah. So, however, I guess what I'm trying to remind myself of is this thing on Monday, even though it's just a one-off. Oh no, that thing is a one-time opportunity. It's hard to make connections, that continue beyond that. If I was to tell you what it's actually about, I feel like mostly, and I don't know all the details, but um, it is, I guess, about three people in and perhaps kind of certain people more than or certain identities more than others. I'm not sure, and and I don't get out much anyway, and I don't have too much concern when I do. I just hope that I will get the ride to be able to go to to get there. That's still the unknown, but I'm not anxious really because I don't think like I have anybody to feel unsafe for the most part. However, my intent anyway to say, like I have limitations, but if anybody needs support and needs somebody to accompany them with it, doing the things that they need to do, that I'd be open to do. And I will hope that that will bring, some worthwhile things. I don't know what to say. Maybe I should have waited till you got home, but it's still kind of early in the day, and so I'm feeling like I kind of want to go and get myself some sort of treat, but it's so damn windy, and the even though I have some cash, doing the cab thing didn't feel. But if this on request bus actually, even though I have that one bad experience, actually is running, then not getting that. Kind of this kind of thing that I want in front of the church. What I'm confused about is when I called 311 the other day and heard the options, they said that it was not currently in service and it was during the day. And then, like I said, when we went to the dentist the other day, it went right past the dentist as we were going in, essentially. So I don't know. I mean, it's a smaller bus, so it's not, discomfort with transit aren't necessarily. I don't know. I haven't had much yet. I don't know what I was and I was thinking of going to the deli at Safeway, but I don't know if I'm going to see much there. But that might be what it ends up being. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, part of me, I don't. He did say maybe next year around this time, and we know how far away that is. I sometimes in the moment don't say the things that I think afterwards. And so it's like I don't want get into. I don't want to seem like I'm being confrontational. I don't want to ruin that possibility. I try. I was as open as I feel like it could have been. In the different phone calls that we had with him. And, let's see, it was a mental health content thing. And he said something about, and hopefully it'll be a good thing when it's done. It's kind of like that. And he said something about, we don't have time to instead of, well, we heard the video that you told us about, and, they said they were grateful, but obviously didn't really come across as that. Well, you'd pay me then. And if you'd like to tell me, I should have said if you'd like to tell me, to play 3 or 4 upbeat happy songs, I could do that. But instead it was just, I don't know. I don't even know if he showed the video to fellow people or whatever. We just said we have a performer that's interested in performing. Oh no, that's too close to the time. They definitely can't sing that. Whatever. Or if they're beyond that, but we didn't land in the paper. I had asked about if there was payment. He said, well, we're on a budget, but and this was before we called today, but there might be an honorarium. And I said, and by the way, he complimented the piano player. I think at the end of that, other than that, but basically, I said, it doesn't have to be much, and I do it either way. So I don't think it was that. I don't think it was me, but I did say to someone else, not really involved in that, but that actually works there, because I did call there. It wasn't all that helpful though. I said, I don't know if he still thought, well, but he probably really wanted to pay, at the end of the day, and the budget. So like I already said the things. So I don't want to be annoying by saying, no, I just want you guys to really understand that I don't need to get paid. And it's really disappoints me. I don't know if that would get me anywhere, You could try, but I figured that's probably, maybe like you said, it was just too late. But I don't know. Well, if I were to call back at you, is there anything that I could have done differently which would have increased my chances? Possibly, like the way Just a moment, please. I'm just going to be another couple of minutes. I appreciate being here. Sorry, I was rolling a podcast. It was a quiet moment, but since I was away from the screen, there was two people there, one person's light, so no comment yet. But I'll be talking. But I mean, he said something about with this kind of theme or whatever, and I said, well, is there something specific? And I said, no, not really. So, I mean, I feel like I kind of asked that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to try to maybe go out briefly this afternoon, eat something, and look forward to getting home. Okay, bye. At least it's Friday. Yeah. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now you've all left. But I'm curious. Like, I would have been curious. Because YouTube doesn't, and email doesn't always say who liked. It just, in fact, yeah, because especially if you're live, then it figures that, well, you've noticed it while you were live. So, but still, unless the person, tells you that they were the ones that liked it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a like's a like. I appreciate it either way. But it's kind of nice to know who it came from. And, lately I sometimes have a curiosity as to what specifically. Whether it's because I feel like I've said something, I mean, it's like, what's to like within that, or whatever. I mean, there's not necessarily, well, actually there is. And I'm gonna, this, I don't mean to seem weird in doing it, and the person laughed or whatever. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of love with the hearts. I don't remember, on the phone, it's not an option. They don't necessarily show after. I like how they kind of float too. So, I don't know how much longer to roll. It's 2:00, and I'm hungry. I don't want to spend a lot of time on, and I mentioned in the previous video, I guess I'm needing to vent about this. I'm needing to get it off my chest. The guy I talked to, if he sees this, if he's decided to start following the channel, and he's like, I just really want to know what else he's maybe saying about us. As frustrated and disappointed as I am, he's a nice person. I think he's a nice person, and I'm sure that the other people involved are nice people. I haven't been able to, and may not end up getting myself to a point to call and talk further with him, as you've been able to tell from this. Well, I guess I'm $40 richer, and that doesn't have to go to a cab necessarily. But yeah, so basically, the dog's been up there. He could have been down here this whole time and possibly gotten a treat. But even though it's really windy and yucky, I think I will get myself some fresh air and try and get myself something to eat. I just don't feel like prepping anything. I'm bored of the options. It's not that I'm not thankful, because I know that some people have less. I do realize that, but you got to realize when you're having the same few things every day, every 2 or 3 days, because I don't have a huge, vast diet. But in some ways, that's because I'm picky, but in some ways, it's just because I don't put things together that way. But if it's already made, I might. I don't want to spend a lot of time on trying to figure that out, to be honest. I don't really want to have to take a cab. I can use a few coins, and they're not special. I could use a few coins. I mean, yeah, I know I have the thing on Sunday. Who knows how long we'll stay? A little while anyway. We can get ourselves there. It's all good. But unless I can transfer, only have to pay once, so that's good. I wish I knew where that cane was, but yeah, I think I'm gonna. And I'd like something ready-made, whether that's from the deli or just in general. I think I don't mind that one place I went to, and I did go there by myself once, but I also went there with G once, and I've been there with a couple other people back in the day, family, and the one that's out of town right now and a former friend. But yeah, they do and don't have a good selection. If I'm within my transfer, I can't be long. The fortunate thing is I'd have to wait inside because, I can't just tell them. I don't think I could. I could check if it's the driver who I think it's going to be. I don't think it would go well because he's a little uptight and persnickety, but maybe I do need to stand my ground more. I can do it in a polite way, although that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come across that way to the other person. This particular bus only goes within the neighborhood. I'm trying to think if there's somewhere else in the neighborhood that just feels too far. But again, if it's anywhere that's sit down to eat, my transfer will expire. So I think, yeah. So if there's anything before I wrap up, since somebody just tuned in, if there's anything that is mentioned in the title of this, okay, you left. I'm just thinking, I don't know if I'm going to find anything that great at the deli. But they did do some remodeling, so they might therefore also have decided to go with the slightly remodeled store. Will offer some new things, and it varies anyway, I think. So I think I'm going to do that and wrap this one up. I don't think I want that thing. It's kind of expensive. It's all right. I don't really want to go because I have to call me back for business. And it wasn't necessarily that I was trying to pick her with business. She seemed like a supportive person that might refer me to somebody, but she wasn't there when I gave the card, and maybe it didn't get relayed that way. Anywho. Yeah, and there was someone else who looked like they were going to stay when the other person was here, and maybe the other person would have stayed. But I came back. I was off the phone. They were still there for a minute or two, and then they left. So, but they did give a like, and I'm going to think that is fairly likely that they wanted to say, thumbs up. You're maybe for whatever reason they didn't comment, but a like is. I can't think of a reason why it'd be negative, and I don't think that we should try to. Good to see you. You got this. Thumbs up, head up, kind of thing. Whoa, he looks good, or in support. I would guess. So I appreciate that. Unfortunately, they're not here to specify or hear me thank them, but I think they were when I did earlier. So, okay, I am going to get going here. Sorry that this was not necessarily I'm having a stressful day, a day in the life, and I could easily post, but then again, a lot of it's just kind of bland, not much to say, but yet I post almost every day and find something. Of course, when there's dialogue, that helps, when there's people in the chat, but, whether it's music and I have a hard time thinking of songs, but I always manage to post content. And I think even if there are moments when things are a little slower, I manage to do so. I'm very thoughtful. I have an active mind, and every day brings something to look at. So, and lots of things sometimes. So, but yeah. Anyway, gotta go.